Hi, my name is Morgan Thomas, and today I'm going to be teaching you how to make a ceramic pot on a wheel. So, first of all, what you're going to do is you're going to place your piece of clay onto the wheel and you're going to slap it on there really hard so it sticks. The key to this is to have it not completely dry, but also not completely wet. So now that you've got it stuck on there, what you're going to go ahead and do is work on centering your clay on the wheel. Now, you can see my problem here is the clay is too wet, so it's not going to stick and it's going to fly off the wheel. Like, it will fly off and it might hit you, so you want to make sure that it's stuck down really good. And when you're hitting it down onto the wheel, you want to try and get it in the middle as much as you can, because this is going to make it a lot easier to get your clay centered. Now, when you're centering your clay, you're going to take your arm, in this case it's my right arm, or left if you're watching, and you're going to place it on the side of the clay. I usually place my arm on my leg to keep it really steady, and then with my left arm, I'm simply pushing the clay into my right hand and trying to get it as smooth and centered on the wheel as possible. Now, as this video continues, you'll see that the clay will wobble as I move, or it's gonna look as it's sitting, like as if it's sitting in the same exact spot. Here it's almost centered, but not quite. One really key thing to centering your clay is to make sure that your hands are wet, but they're not completely like soaked and dripping the whole time. There's a really fine balance in having your hands too wet but not too dry, if that makes sense. Now, the technique I'm using here is I'm cupping the clay with my left hand, and I'm just trying to get it really even and smooth, which is going to make the next step easier. By far, getting your clay centered is the hardest part for me about throwing. It takes a lot of patience and a lot of time unless you've practiced a lot. So if this is your first time throwing on a wheel, just be patient and it'll come eventually. As you can see here, my clay is pretty centered, which I point out. So now what we're going to go ahead and do is next we're going to take both of my thumbs and I'm going to push right in the middle of the clay to create that pot-like hole. I'm not exactly sure what the terminology is for this, but as you can see, I'm just pressing in the center of my clay with both of my thumbs, and I'm just pressing straight down. One super important thing about this is your clay is going to dry out pretty quickly if you press too hard or you try to go down too fast. So you want to make sure, I usually put like an excess amount of water at this point because your clay does suck up a lot of the water, and it's a lot easier to just put more water in than you need at first and then not have to put it in every few seconds. Now what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to keep one thumb. I usually keep my right thumb in the middle, and then with my left thumb I'm going to start bringing the clay out further, and it's going to create a larger hole, I should say. Now after this step, what we're going to go ahead and do is I keep my right hand on the outside of the pot, and with my left hand I'm just going to run my thumb up the pot to make the walls thinner, because you don't want a super hot, like super duper thick pot, or it's not going to be able to fire correctly, so your pot's just going to break. So I just keep raising and thinning the walls, and with your right hand you can shape the pot kind of and make sure it keeps centered, and you can make sure that the outsides are smooth. And as you can see, I'm pushing down more with my pinky to create more of a bowl shape, and I'm letting the top come out. That way it kind of flares out rather than just straight up. A really important step is to be patient and just really make sure that your walls don't get too thin too fast. And there you have it. There's how to throw a ceramic bowl on a wheel.